The empire of Lyriath did not fall with fire. It fell with silence. Princess Erin Vallis stood on the highest balcony of the Crystal Citadel, watching the horizon where her cities once glittered like constellations fallen upon the world. The night sky reflected in the glass oceans below, and for a moment she could almost pretend nothing had changed. Then the transmission ended. No more distress signals. No more fleet chatter. No more voices. Her people were gone. Not dead. Not entirely.
Worse. Taken.
The invaders had arrived without warning, ships shaped like black fractures in reality itself. They did not bombard the planet. They did not demand surrender. They simply erased resistance and harvested population centers, teleporting millions into containment vessels beyond orbit. Within 6 hours, the empire that had ruled 3 star systems for 12,000 years ceased to exist. Erin had not even seen their faces. Only one ship remained over the capital, hovering, waiting. For her. She knew why. Royal neural signatures could command ancient defense networks scattered across the galaxy. The enemy needed her alive. She tightened her grip on the railing as explosions echoed in distant districts. Her last soldiers were dying to buy her minutes. Minutes. "Your Highness," whispered Commander Thel, wounded and leaning against the doorway, armor cracked. "The escape gate is ready." She didn't move. "I will not abandon my world." "You already have," he said gently, "because if you stay, they control it forever." Erin looked back at her city one last time, the gardens floating between towers, the rings of light along the waterways, the great aurora engines illuminating the sky. Her childhood, her history, her people.
Gone.
Her throat tightened. She stepped through the gate. She expected to emerge in one of her hidden colonies. Instead, she collapsed into dirt. Cold dirt. Real dirt. Under a yellow sun. She looked up, confused, at a blue sky streaked with clouds. The air smelled strange, thick with oxygen and organic decay. No hover lanes. No spires. No skyships. Primitive. The gate behind her sputtered and died. She was stranded. "Okay," said a voice nearby, calm but very confused. "Either I've worked too many night shifts, or an alien princess just fell into my wheat field." Erin turned sharply. A human stood a few meters away, holding a shovel, wearing dusty clothes and staring at her glowing silver eyes. They watched each other in complete silence. Then she fainted. Middle, the last princess of nowhere. Her name, she learned, was impossible for him to pronounce. So he called her Erin. His name was Daniel Hayes. He lived alone in a rural farming region on a small planet called Earth, a non-spacefaring world barely capable of reaching its own moon. Perfectly useless. Perfectly safe. For 3 days, she refused to speak. For 5 days, she refused to eat. For 7 days, she finally asked a question. "How long was I unconscious?" "About 12 hours, Daniel said, sitting across from her at a small wooden table. "You had a fever. I almost called a hospital, but I figured explaining glowing eyes and floating jewelry might be difficult." She looked around the house, small, warm, quiet. Pain struck her chest. "My people," she whispered. He didn't ask what happened. He simply poured her water. "You don't have to tell me," he said, "but you're not alone here." She nearly broke then. Not at the destruction of her empire. Not at exile. But at kindness from a stranger who owed her nothing. Weeks passed. She learned Earth languages quickly. Her species possessed adaptive neural translation, but she studied anyway. It distracted her from the nightmares, the soundless void where billions once lived. Daniel never treated her like royalty. He made her cook. Badly. She burned bread 3 times before discovering heat control. You ruled star systems, he said, but toast defeated you. She glared at him, then laughed for the first time since the invasion. At night, she stared at the stars. Somewhere above them drifted the ships that held her civilization in cages. She should have been planning war. Instead, she was planting tomatoes and slowly, painfully healing. One evening, while repairing an old radio tower, Daniel found her standing in the field, eyes glowing brighter than ever. "Aaron, I found them," she whispered. Her hands trembled. "I can feel the prison network. It's not far, hidden outside your solar system. A relay node passes nearby every few months." "Is that good?" Her expression hardened. "It means I have a chance to save them." He nodded. "What do you need?" She looked at his tools, at his truck, at the patched machines he somehow kept alive despite their age. Then at him. "A pilot." He blinked. "I drive tractors." "I need a mind that thinks unpredictably," she said. "Your species is chaotic, illogical, innovative under pressure. My enemies calculate outcomes. Humans improvise." "That's your recruitment speech?" "It is a compliment."
He sighed.
"This is going to end with me in space, isn't it?" "Yes." "Okay." She stared at him. "You accept that quickly." He shrugged. "You showed up in my wheat field glowing and sad. Figured my life was already weird." For the first time, hope flickered in her chest. The plan. Her escape gate's power core was dead, but not destroyed. Earth possessed crude nuclear reactors. With modification, she could recharge it enough for one jump to the relay node, but not back. A one-way rescue. Daniel listened quietly. "So," he summarized, "we steal energy from Earth, build a spaceship from alien leftovers, jump to a prison fleet, fight an unknown species, free billions, and probably die." She hesitated. "Yes." He nodded. "All right, let's get to work." For months they built. He scavenged materials from scrapyards and abandoned industrial zones. She reshaped matter with microscopic field manipulation. Human ingenuity met ancient technology. They argued constantly. You can't just rewrite physics. You cannot tape a power conduit. It worked. It exploded. A little. But gradually, impossibility became reality. The ship, a fusion of alien crystal and human metal, stood inside an abandoned hangar.
Ugly. Perfect.
Ready. The night before departure, they sat outside under the stars. "You don't have to come," she said quietly. "You owe me nothing." Daniel looked up at the sky.
"Someone hurt you," he said.
"Took your family, your world, and you still cared about mine enough not to drag it into war." He shrugged. "Seems only fair I help you take yours back." Her voice softened. "If we fail, I'm glad my last days were here." He smiled. "Same." They didn't sleep. Climax, the human variable the jump nearly killed them. The prison network was worse than she imagined. Colossal structures orbiting a dead star, millions of containment spheres chained together. And guarding them, the enemy. Featureless beings of shifting geometry, bending space around themselves. No faces. No sound. Only cold intelligence. They're not biological, she realized. They're decision engines. They harvest civilizations to predict future probabilities. Daniel gripped the controls. So, evil calculators. Inaccurate but acceptable. They were detected instantly. Hundreds of interceptors approached. Her royal genetic code allowed access to old defense satellites hidden in the system, but they required manual synchronization across multiple nodes. She couldn't pilot and connect simultaneously.
He could.
"Daniel," she said, "I need you to fly into that formation." That formation is shooting at us. Yes. He took a deep breath. All right. Human reflexes weren't superior. Human logic wasn't superior. Human stubbornness was. He flew unpredictably. Sharp turns, reckless dives, maneuvers no algorithm predicted because they were inefficient and irrational. The enemy overshot constantly. Why are they missing? He yelled. They calculate optimal movement, she said. You are not optimal. Good. One by one, she activated the ancient satellites. Golden constructs awakened, firing beams across the prison chains. Containment fields flickered. Millions of life signs surged awake. The enemy changed tactics. They ignored Aaron and targeted Daniel. The ship shook violently. Shields failing, he shouted. She realized the truth instantly. They identified him as the variable, the unpredictable element, the threat. If he died, victory probability restored. She could finish the sequence, but he wouldn't survive. For the first time since childhood, the princess hesitated between duty and a single life. Then Daniel laughed. Hey, Aaron. Yes. If this works, you go be queen again. Her voice cracked. I don't want a throne anymore. Then be whatever you want, he said. Just finish it. The ship ruptured. Air screamed into space. She grabbed his hand, channeling the last of her power into the final node. The network shattered. Prison spheres opened across the system. Billions freed. The defense satellites fired a final coordinated strike, destroying the enemy fleet. Silence returned. But this time, living silence. She looked beside her. Daniel was unconscious, drifting in failing gravity.
Not dead.
Barely alive. Ending. A different crown rescue ships arrived hours later. Survivors from her people, disoriented but alive. They saw her floating in the broken cockpit, holding a human. They knelt. Your Majesty, you saved us. She shook her head. No, she whispered. He did. Months later, a fleet gathered above Earth. The first contact in history. Not invasion. Not conquest. Gratitude. Aaron refused coronation. Instead, she established a council, shared leadership, no absolute throne. Empires had failed. People would not. Daniel recovered slowly. When he finally woke, she sat beside him. Did we win? He asked. She smiled, softer than she ever had as princess. Yes. He noticed the stars outside the window, alien ships hovering peacefully above Earth. So, I accidentally started interstellar diplomacy. You rewrote history, she said. He leaned back. Good. Because farming was getting repetitive. She laughed. And for the first time since losing everything, the sound carried no grief. Only future. She had lost her throne. She had lost her people. But a human had given her something rulers rarely possessed, a choice. And she chose not to rule the galaxy, only to live in it, together.